All right, welcome to the first edition of Mobile Truth Between Lines. I'm here with my buddy Alex Cain, and he's going to tell us a fantastic story about his history of driving on the road. So I thought it was appropriate that we did one video of ourselves driving on the road, and here we are. So anyway, Alex, want to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everybody. Alex Cain, Farragut, Tennessee. Great friend Brian here. We're traveling to Nashville this afternoon.
Yeah, so we're going down to some races going on, and wanted to talk about Alex's history of driving for Silverbelly Whiskey, okay, the Alan Jackson brand. You want to just go into the stories of how you got involved with that, talk about your dad, talk about all the different details, and how much fun you had.
Well, so I was hired by the parent company, Silver Screen Bottling, and I was the head of security for them. And Alan and his people approached them about producing a bourbon for them back in 2021, and they put it all together. And in 2022, we went on the road with the Silverbelly tour. Alan did a 16 city summer tour.
So if you're not familiar with Alan Jackson, who that is, well, you've been under a rock for too long. But yeah, obviously a huge country singer, 90s, 2000s.
36 number one hits.
36, yeah, geez, yeah. I mean, he was out there. I tell you, four chords for every song that he sung. That was how easy it was, because he wanted people to be able to duplicate him singing in his songs like that by playing guitar and stuff.
So something that we did with Silverbelly, using his number one hits. Every batch of the bourbon that comes out, a batch is considered 7,500 bottles. The label on the bottle was going to be one of his number one hits, and they started in order from his first one and they work all the way through. So if you're a big Alan Jackson fan and a bourbon fan, there's a possibility there where you could collect 36 different bottles of the Silverbelly whiskey, and each one of them was a different one of his number one hits.
How'd you get into that? Like, what started that?
Honestly, what started it was an Uber ride in 2021. It was the first University of Tennessee football game after COVID, when they had a full crowd again, and I thought I'd make some extra money doing Uber, and got a ride request for a gentleman lived in there in Knoxville. Pulled up in his driveway, and he sent me a message and says, if you can wait for me, I promise I'll be out in a little bit. And about 25 minutes later, he finally came outside. And before we got out of his driveway, he asked me if I could be his driver for the day. And about an hour later, we were sitting in his office, and he was just asking me about myself. And I told him what I did for a living, and do a lot of private security for high net worth individuals and so on. And about 3 hours later, he offered me a full-time job.
You never know who you're going to meet, I guess.
In this kind of business, you really don't. You don't know who you're going to meet. And a week later, I was picking up Terry Bradshaw at the airport in Knoxville, because they also produced the bourbon for Terry Bradshaw. It's called Bradshaw Bourbon, and just opens up those doors. And so we had a 32-foot Ford Transit van that was converted into like a mobile office / motorhome, and we called it the Whiskey Wagon, and we just followed the tour. Every one of the tour dates, we'd go to different liquor stores or retailers and do tastings and give away free tickets to the concert, and then we'd be at every concert venue, and we had a portable bar that was always set up in the VIP areas, and they did free tastings of the new bourbon.
That was going to be my next question, is how much whiskey and bourbon and just alcohol did you have on that Whiskey Wagon?
I had storage for about 25 cases at a time.
Okay, so
and
4 or 6 a case?
6 bottles per case.
6 bottles per case.
And so what we'd end up doing was, it was the bourbon's produced in Owensboro, Kentucky at the time. And so they're in between. The tour dates were always set on Fridays and Saturdays, and a lot of time there was a weekend off in between during the summer. And during that week off in between, I would go up to Owensboro to the distillery and pick up 50 to 100 cases of it, bring it back to Knoxville.
Okay. So stories on the road then? I mean, you went all across country, right?
Oh yeah. We the tour started in Mississippi, and the second tour date was Knoxville, and then just off the top of my head, we were in Spartanburg, North Carolina, I believe, and they just got all kind of blend together. But South Dakota, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Lincoln, Nebraska, Kansas City, Missouri, Dallas, Texas, Austin, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, Los Angeles.
You made the trip. How long were you on the road for?
It was 16 tour dates, and basically we started in June, and the last weekend of the tour was October of that year.
Wow. So did you even go home? I mean, what were you?
Oh yeah, we'd go. Like I said, the concerts were only Fridays and Saturdays, so there was a lot of coming home in between.
But if you're in Phoenix or Los Angeles, I mean, are you coming home for the week?
Yeah, oh yeah, we did, because the next weekend was Atlantic City, New Jersey, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That was one of the rare times where there was no weekend off in between.
All right, so did you ever have a chance to meet Alan Jackson? I mean, you're running his whiskey.
So, like I said, we had the Whiskey Wagon. We'd bring it to the different venues, and most of the time, I would park it after we did all the tastings and everything. We'd park it inside, like underneath the venue or wherever the trucks were for all the stage equipment. And Alan always had a motorhome bus there. He would travel home at night, even if it was a Friday night concert. He would fly home Friday night and then travel back on Saturday for the Saturday concert, regardless of where it was. And so I pulled in Kentucky at Rupp Arena. We were downstairs underneath the arena, had the van parked there. He comes out of his motorhome, and I was just kind of cleaning up the van a little bit, and he looked at me and introduced himself and said, "That's a pretty good looking van, except for his big picture, vinyl wrapped on the side of it." And we talked for a minute. He asked how I was enjoying the tour, and he hopped on his golf cart and went on stage.
Right on the stage. Right?
That was it. That was it.
Like it's nothing. Probably in front of what? I don't know, a couple thousand. I mean,
probably had probably 22,000 people pretty much everywhere we went. I would say the two biggest venues were Austin, Texas. That was on the University of Texas campus, and then Dallas, Texas was in the American Airlines Arena. And so those are probably the two biggest. But then, Rupp Arena is so famous for Kentucky basketball. Pretty big arena. Well, the arena in Minneapolis is pretty big, and Kansas City was real fun, and so was Lincoln, Nebraska. Lincoln, Nebraska they have a great downtown entertainment district.
Really? All right. I'll take your word for that one. I've never really toured Nebraska. I've driven through it a couple times.
It's the home of the University of Nebraska, so it's got to be fun.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else there.
Because there's nothing else. Sorry, fans in Nebraska. Sorry. I'm sure your state is wonderful.
A lot of cornfields.
All your rolling mountains and everything you have there.
A lot of cornfields.
Yeah. So you have any stories from the road, though? I mean, you break down at all? Anything happen?
Never had any breakdowns. We
driving a new vehicle, I imagine.
It was through a company in Indiana. They built it for us and set it all up, and the CEO of Silverbelly, his family's from the Chicago area, so we were up in South Bend, and we stopped at University of Notre Dame because the chief operating officer from Silver Screen, he used to work at the university, so we stopped there and got some pictures in front of the football stadium and Touchdown Jesus there at Notre Dame. And then as we were headed toward Lincoln, Nebraska, we stopped at the CEO's parents' house. They had a big party, and we did a tasting and everything for them. Had probably 50 or 100 people there. They were all standing on the street waiting for us as we pulled in the Whiskey Wagon. And the little town they're in, the local fire truck showed up, and they had all their lights on, the whole thing. And then we stayed at the world's largest truck stop in Iowa, there along Interstate 80 that evening, because it was about 1 a.m, and we got up the next morning and drove all the way into Lincoln. And there were the fun was they always hosted some kind of a party before the concert. Got to meet people, like you said. We give away tickets and so on, and then they always had an after party somewhere. So those sometimes would last till 2-3 in the morning. But if we were having to drive the next morning, I'd try to get as much rest as I could because I was the only one doing the driving. But like I said, it was just a fun party atmosphere all the time, and like I said, we had a really good time. The downtown Kansas City has a entertainment district that's an old utility plant, and you wouldn't even know it, but you're outside. The way they have it all set up, and they hosted a party there at a dueling piano bar.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
And you're sleeping in the van too? Is that
No, we stayed at a hotel, and that was one nice thing. The CEO and the chief operating officer, they always wanted to stay in nice places, so we stayed at real nice hotels. When we were we stayed one night in Fort Worth at the Stockyards, at the world famous Stockyards Hotel, and at the Fort Worth Stockyards, and went across the street to Letty's the next day and bought a brand new pair of cowboy boots, and but we, like I said, we always stayed in really nice places. You had to, especially when you're traveling like that. If you're not real comfortable, then obviously you don't get really good sleep, and there was just a lot of driving.
I'm surprised you bought cowboy boots then, because I figured Alan Jackson would have that as mandatory uniform.
No, that's the first pair I've ever owned. I bought a really nice pair of Letty goatskin. They're goatskin cowboy boots, and we like I said, it was a fun time. It just we put about 22,000 miles on that Whiskey Wagon, and in that time frame.
That's actually not bad for that amount of time, for that amount of distance that you went on there. Yeah. Were you competing with other wagons of other bourbons and whiskeys and whatever else too?
No, we were the title sponsor of the concert tour, so it was a good tie-in because you got the Silverbelly name out to everybody, all the logos and all the marketing, pre-concert on the stage and everything was always Silverbelly. They had filmed a couple different teaser type commercials with Alan at the distillery, so that video would run beforehand a few times, and then, like I said, the logo and the brand and marketing was there. It's his own company, and he's obviously a member, an owner of it. But at the same time, we were the title sponsor, so we really didn't have to compete. We had some guys that would come that do bourbon type podcasts, and we did probably 5 or 6 different podcasts from inside the Whiskey Wagon with the CEO and the chief operating officer.
That's been fun being on the road. What years were this?
It was summer of 2022.
Okay, you mentioned after COVID and all that. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha, with the Uber. All right, so
yep.
Summer, yeah, that must have been great. Is Alan still playing right now?
He did another tour last summer.
He did, yeah. He's got to be getting up there as far as.
He is. I want to say he's in his upper 60s age wise.
We're gonna check that. I'm gonna put that on the thing and find out how old he is when I get back into this.
But he did some tour dates. There were a couple of our tour dates that ended up getting canceled. He wasn't feeling well. He has a medical condition that affects his lower legs sometimes, so it's difficult for him to maybe stand or walk every once in a while. And so we had a couple dates that were canceled because of that. So he promised he wanted to go back through, and he called it the last call tour, and because he really doesn't plan on doing any big tours, so he wanted to go back to places he hadn't been to in a long time. Like before he came back to Knoxville, then he hadn't been to Knoxville in 10 or 12 years, and some of these towns we went to, he hadn't gone through and toured in just a long time frame. And so he went back through last year a little bit through this spring and the summer, and did some of those other dates he wanted to do. And then the rumor is he's going to do a real big, probably 1 night or maybe a 2-night type deal in Nashville, and that'll be the last concert he ever does.
Yeah, it's hard to see the legends kind of get older and everything else.
It sure is. Because he's such an entertainer, and
a lover of life too. I mean, everything I see, he's happy.
Yeah, he loves his family. His family went through some tragedy. His daughter, his son-in-law was passed away in a tragic accident on a boat dock. And they you know what, the family rallied around, and you know, his daughter is actually the one that came up with the actual mix or slash flavor for the bourbon. They tested, you know, a lot of different mash bills and so on, and she was the one that kind of came up with it. And you know, we were on Fox News in New York on the morning show, and she was there doing different cocktails at Christmas time using Silverbelly Whiskey. And she does she's got an Instagram page where she does stuff like that, always talking about different cocktails and different mixtures you can do with the Silverbelly. And you know, if you walk into his bar on Broadway in Nashville, they have a whole Silverbelly Whiskey portion of the bar.
I bet they do.
You know, and things like that. And so but he is an entertainer, that's for sure. But I mean, they'd give me a lot of wristbands for the standing room only pit area, and I'd walk around the arena sometimes before the concert and give them out to people, and they come down there and it was so much fun, entertainment. People are up in the aisles dancing and singing, and you know, it was a fun time, very, very, very fun. Plus, it was kind of neat to be on the other side of it too, where you had all access to the arena everywhere we were at, and you could see the way everything interacted.
Now, do you know what Silverbelly means?
Yes.
Like, where is that?
Silverbelly is the name of the color of his Stetson cowboy hats. So if you go to Stetson and you ask for a Silverbelly cowboy hat, that's the color you get. That's exactly what Alan wears all the time. And I actually have one of them.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah. All of us, when they signed the contract, we all got Silverbelly, the Silverbelly colored hats, cowboy hats.
So there you have it. If you're thirsty at all right now and you're looking for a little whiskey, is it whiskey or bourbon? I want to make sure I get that right.
I guess it's considered a bourbon or a whiskey. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember on the label, because it's not made in. It's not sourced at Owensboro, Kentucky anymore. I believe it's now sourced in Tennessee, but I'm not. I think it's Silverbelly Whiskey is the actual title or name of it.
All right. Well, I want Deck Night on the Rocks to take a look at that. Homer and Amy, I'm going to send this to you guys, because you know all bourbons are whiskey, but not all whiskeys are bourbon. So I know that. We're going to have you look into Silverbelly. So anyway, that's my shout out to Deck Night on the Rocks. But all right, so we're going to figure that out. But if you are thirsty, you know what? Pull up a cup of brown liquor, put on an old Alan Jackson song, and just rock on. Because man, I tell you, seeing him kind of get older as our legends go, that's going to be the hard thing. But anyway, hey, listen, this is Truth Between Lines. Thank you to my co-pilot over here, Alex Cain, for his stories. And man, what a great time that must have been in the summer of 2022, right? It was an excellent time, and you can find Silverbelly in most retailers. I know Total Wine in Knoxville carries it.
Between the lines.